Indiana Jones was created by George Lucas, the genius behind Star Wars, until he ruined that. And all the films were directed by Steven Spielberg. I've been watching the Indiana Jones film series because they're all on Netflix. For now at least, God knows when they'll remove it. The Indiana Jones series started in 1981 with its first entry, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and 3 more movies followed. The series follows the main character Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford, who also is Han Solo. Indy is a history professor at a university and an archaeologist who goes on adventures to retrieve all sorts of MacGuffins. Every action-adventure movie nowadays is compared to these films because Indiana Jones is the epitome of this genre. Anyways, we're going to be talking about every single Indiana Jones film. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best out of the series. The film came out in 1981 and it was the highest grossing movie of that year. In this movie, Indy is sent on a mission to find and retrieve a powerful religious artifact known as the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis do. The opening scene is iconic. It opens with Indy lurking through a forest. This scene builds tension and suspense so perfectly, especially through the music and lighting. There are so many iconic moments in this scene alone. When Indy turns around and reveals himself, him looking at the idol in awe, and then getting chased by a boulder. Later, we get Indy teaching a history class, which is a nice transition from getting chased by a boulder and tribal men. Then we're finally introduced to the plot. Most movies nowadays get right into the adventure and don't take their time to set up the plot. Why I love this scene is that it's almost 7 minutes long, and it's a simple scene explaining what the Ark of the Covenant is and that the Nazis are after it too. Yes, it's exposition, and usually that's a bad thing, but this exposition is done right. It feels natural and doesn't narrate the plot to the audience.
Well, the city of Tanis is one of the possible resting places of the Lost Ark.
The Lost Ark?
Yeah, the Ark of the Covenant, the chest the Hebrews used to carry around the 10 Commandments.
What do you mean, Ten Commandments? You're talking about the 10 Commandments?
Yes, the actual 10 Commandments.
Then finally, we get to see Indy embark on an adventure to find the Ark of the Covenant, and it's a lot of fun. Harrison Ford plays Indy marvelously. He's charming, hilarious, and just everything that makes an iconic action hero. All the Indiana Jones movies have like a love interest, sort of like a Bond girl. Marion is the best one out of all of them. She already has a history with Indy when we first meet her in a bar. Their relationship feels worthy and isn't forced like most Bond women. Sala is another supporting character who is an old friend of Indy. This guy steals the scene in every shot he's in. A fun fact, the actor who played him, John Rhys Davies, actually pooped his pants on set because he had a horrible fever. And finally, the villain, Belloc, is the Nazi archaeologist who's also after the Ark of the Covenant. What I love about his character is that he just wants to find the Ark and learn about its power rather than doing it for his Führer or something. Raiders of the Lost Ark has an awesome action sequence. The truck chase. Indy gets on a horse, chases a truck, then gets on the truck, then gets thrown outside the truck, then gets dragged by the truck, and then gets back in the truck and beats up the Nazi and then throws him out of the truck and runs him over. All of this is practical, by the way. If this scene were to be filmed now, the whole background would be green screen. I bet half the truck would be CGI, and even the people inside the truck would be CGI. Action scenes rarely blow me away nowadays because they all look fake.
I am Nemesis Prime. You are nothing.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
The visuals in this film are breathtaking. They actually shot on location. It was a real pain for the crew members because of the weather, and most of them got food poisoning. For this amazing wide shot of Cairo, the crew had to remove all the TV antennas to keep it accurate for the time period. Towards the end, Indy and Marion are captured and the Nazis open the Ark of the Covenant because they're really stupid, and I love this scene. Probably because we get to see Nazis scream and brutally die. Last but not least, John Williams' score. Words cannot do justice to how good this score is. The desert truck chase sequence that I talked about earlier has the best soundtrack probably in the entire series. So Raiders of the Lost Ark is absolutely fantastic, and I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Temple of Doom takes place a year before Raiders. In this adventure, Indy goes on a dangerous quest to retrieve one of the magical Sankara stones from the Thuggee cult to bring back peace and prosperity to a local village in India. This movie faced a lot of criticism. People thought it was way too dark, violent, and racially insensitive. In fact, this movie actually invented the PG-13 rating because of the violence. After revisiting this film, I realized that I don't love it as much anymore. First, let's talk about what works. The action sequences are again really well handled, especially the bridge scene and the minecart chase. Harrison Ford is once again great as Indiana Jones. The villain Molaram is over the top in a good way. The cinematography, the lighting, and the overall presentation of this movie is really impressive. There are some cool Easter eggs I noticed on my second viewing. The opening nightclub scene is very reminiscent of James Bond, and the nightclub is called Club Obi-Wan. I mean, you can't get any more obvious than that. Now, the negatives. The biggest problem this movie suffers is tonal balance. Raiders had a good balance of lighthearted fun and dark moments. In this movie, one moment people are able to survive by jumping off an airplane with a raft, and another moment a dude gets his heart ripped out and then burns alive. This movie just doesn't follow through a consistent tone. It tries to be extremely goofy and at the same time extremely dark. The other major problem Temple has is ridiculous racial stereotypical scenes. They aren't even stereotypes. It's just straight up wrong. Perhaps my most hated scene in the entire franchise is this dinner scene. The Maharaja has a huge feast that includes snakes, eyeball soup, beetles, and gorilla brains. Now look, I'm Indian, and I know the culture pretty well. We don't eat snakes! Or any of the other crap that this movie makes you think we eat. No wonder this movie was banned in India. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about another bad aspect of this movie. Willie Scott. Now I have nothing against Kate Capshaw. She's a fine actress, and she's married to Steven Spielberg, by the way. But her character, Willie Scott, is so annoying. Her characterization limits to complaining about her nails and screaming every 37 seconds.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Overall, Temple of Doom is a fun movie, but it's not as great as Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm going to give Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom a 7 out of 10. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is a major step up from Temple of Doom. In this adventure, Indy's father goes missing while trying to find the Holy Grail, and so Indiana Jones, Marcus Brody, and Sala, who are from Raiders of the Lost Ark, go on an adventure to find Henry Jones Sr. and the Holy Grail. This movie does the bold thing of opening with a flashback involving young Indiana Jones, played by River Phoenix. It's a nice little origin story of the character and fills in the gaps of Indy's character arc. The Last Crusade also adds Sean Connery, who plays Indy's dad, and he added so much heart and levity to the film. Julian Glover is the villain this time around, and he does a decent job. When it comes to problems with the film, there are just a few. The film could be paced better, lots of sequences drag too much, and there's this unnecessary subplot involving a group of guys that protect the Holy Grail, and it doesn't really go anywhere. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is a solid 8 out of 10. Now, I don't hate this movie. It's not prequels bad, but it's not stellar either. I got a few positives for this film. Harrison Ford, once again, is great as Indiana Jones. It's insane that he did his own stunts at the age of 66. I didn't mind Shia LaBeouf's character that much, but he does have problems which I'll address in the negatives. Some of the set pieces are cool. I thought the Cold War time period was kind of neat. Marion coming back was nice fan service, though she doesn't really fit in the movie all that well. The action scenes that don't use CGI are fine, and the film is decently paced. There are quite a lot of bad aspects with this film. Shia LaBeouf's character plays Indy and Marion's son, and it's a cool concept, but it really doesn't earn its spot in the narrative of this film, because the movie doesn't really take the time at all to develop his character. Also, Marion is great in Raiders of the Lost Ark, not here. In this movie, she seems so out of place from a story standpoint. Cate Blanchett as the villain is whatever. John Hurt's character is kind of lame. He literally serves as a plot device that just blurts out exposition whenever the script deems it necessary. There are really awful and cringeworthy moments like Indy hiding in a refrigerator during a nuclear blast and somehow survives, and Shia LaBeouf swinging on jungle vines with CGI monkeys. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is just a bland film film, but that doesn't really mean it has its moments. It's not horrible as many make it out to be, but honestly, I can see why people hate this movie. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull deserves a generous 5 out of 10. And that's it. We have covered all the Indiana Jones movies. Here's my rank of the movies, best to worst. 1. Raiders of the Lost Ark. 2. Last Crusade. 3. Temple of Doom. And 4. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I hope Disney doesn't screw up Indiana Jones 5 because their treatment towards Star Wars has been nothing but insulting. Then again, I have faith in James Mangold. He's a great director. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe because I don't know, why not?